Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. It appears that the Thumpimps felt the same way and pushed forward to release B237, then B238, and they decided, well, why not? Let's make B238 the stable version, and the B2387, whatever. This is all different versions of the game in Steam. So, logging on to the game today, you might see an update and notices that Alpha 20 has now hit stable phase. Of course, most of us who have been following the game for years found that a little bit too fast, as generally it's been experimental for far longer. Alpha 19 was something like, I think, 6 to 8 weeks for comparison, whereas we're here at a couple weeks only for Alpha 20. What does it mean? Not really too much. The great news is that it seems to be backward compatible with the whole experimental branch. Yes, there's been some updates to some buildings and POIs. There are some new ones added, but essentially nothing that appears to cause issues if you continue playing on the experimental world. I've just been updating my servers today, and they seem to run as before with nothing particular breaking. And since it means not too much has changed, it also means that the bugs that are there that haven't been fixed yet are still in the stable version. And there are some I would consider game breaking. The drone thing is one where if it ever disappears, you have no way to recover but to delete your whole character and start a new one. And we still have people falling through the ground. I just in the stable version lost my junk turret as it fell through the ground in front of me. I've had to delete characters on my server due to them being corrupted and so on. So while some of these can be tough to find, there at least should be a workaround for them in my view before going stable. But make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and we'll move into the patch notes themselves. So in quick succession, we've had B237 and B238 come out, but the first one has basically some AI pathing upgrades under the changelog. It's got a fix on the AI path grid, has missing ladder nodes, but the AI is still really weird in Alpha 20 compared to Alpha 19. I commonly have them getting lost. They'll run away from the player, and just today playing on the stable version, I had one unable to climb up a ladder after me, instead wanted to go through a wall. What I would say is that it's almost as if randomness, and I'm not saying intended randomness, but randomness of the AI due to the complexity causing a ton of unintended behavior is in play. For instance, I drove past a zombie on my motorcycle and dismounted. He proceeded to run off into the wastelands forest, and while he did try to come back, he then decided to move through a tree and failed, before eventually deciding to run back and attack a friend of mine. I'm sure you've seen the same, where the zombies get stuck behind 1 block wide obstructions, often trees, but it could be something else, or just runs off into the distance before they decide to come back and attack you. Alpha 19 definitely felt better, and if you compare with say Alpha 16, the AI back then felt so much better. They would come for the player. None of this running off attacking random trees or boulders and going off into the distance, being unable to find the player just a few meters away. Other changes in the patch were Warehouse 2 and 5 changes, and updates to Dock 2 and Hall's Old Ranch 10. Nothing major. And then the next update notice said, BAM! B238 goes stable! Interestingly is that they have a public test server to try to reproduce some chunk and region issues so that they can check the logs on the server itself. So if you've had this happen, it might be worthwhile popping in there to try and reproduce it. Still, overall, I am really happy and I am enjoying Alpha 20. I'm really glad they reverted, for now, the block HP nerf, even though I think they nerf farming a bit too much to make it usable early or mid-game. Personally, I barely farm anything. I just plant seeds I find, but mostly I farm stuff outside of the farm POIs that are in the world and are plenty, and I get a lot of corn and potatoes this way, so I can make my meat stews. And beyond that, grilled meat and bacon and eggs is just fine. So I would say overall it's much better than Alpha 19, especially its city generation is awesome. But I am disappointed that I haven't added any electrical stuff, and we still do not have any double doors, despite them putting that at the top of the list months back, and making us wait and wait. Maybe in Alpha 22, but it is a huge pity. It does feel like they wanted to rush it out into stable Alpha 20 before the Christmas Steam sales, which is actually a reasonable thing to do. It generates more sales this way, more players, which is, good. And I do hope they'll come back refreshed after the holidays and give us a ton of those new things like the double doors and more, fixing the drones that are really overdue. 7 Days to Die is right now available on Steam, and whether you've opted into experimental or not, just accepting whatever update you have in Steam that Steam is pushing for you will bring you to the correct version, which should be B238, as you will be able to see in the top right corner. Happy holidays, Survivor, and Merry Christmas. I do wish they had at least added a Christmas tree and lights to the game, but hey, we're never getting those, are we?
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the Vedui community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.